You're watching Cybersecurity Inside, a videocast where you can discover what you need to know about cybersecurity.
So, hi, and welcome to today's episode of Cybersecurity Inside. I'm really excited today because we are talking with three spectacular university students. This is actually part of an Intel and Princeton-led research experience for undergraduates program that just happened over the summer. And so we're going to talk to the students not about the program, but we're going to talk to them about themselves, what they did, what kind of research they're interested in, where they're headed, who they are as human beings, and any advice that they have either for their peers in university or for high school students or even younger who are looking to experience or get to know cybersecurity. So I've got with me today Sarah Shaber, Isabella Siu, and Ifesi Onibogu. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
This is Princeton-Intel program, but none of you goes to Princeton. So let's just introduce yourselves quickly and say where you grew up and what university you're in now. And I'm just kind of going to go left to right. So Sarah?
So my name's Sarah. I'm from Brookfield, Illinois, which is a suburb about 20 minutes outside of the city of Chicago. And I attend University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign.
Awesome. I'm computer science major. Okay. Isabella?
Hi everyone, I'm Isabella. I'm from Miami, Florida, and I go to Cornell and I study electrical and computer engineering.
All right. And Ifesi?
I'm a junior at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and I grew up in Nigeria, but I'm American, so I'm kind of in between the two countries right now.
Oh, wow. Have you been able to travel back and forth at all in the last couple of years?
Oh, I do. I go back to Nigeria every year.
Okay, very cool. And what are you studying at Urbana-Champaign?
Oh, I'm a junior in computer engineering.
Very cool. You guys are all techie, that's for sure. So we're going to do 3 sections. Let's start with research, and then we'll get to know you guys a little bit better as humans, and then we'll go on to advice. Ifesi, can you tell us what research you worked on over the summer and kind of where you're hoping to take that?
So over the summer, I worked in an interdisciplinary group that crossed between formal verifications, network security, and software engineering to model and verify an algorithm to mitigate DNS reflection attacks. Generally, I was always interested in network security and tooling in general, basically using my software engineering skills to create different applications that developers and professionals can use to protect against their own systems and actually use them in data privacy and just general security.
It's interesting you're working on privacy. Can you tell me, is there anything that, since you've been working on it, that surprised you about privacy and network security?
I used to think that at every point in time, someone could just sit down and look at a map of the internet. But when I started the program, I saw that no one has a full picture of the internet. It's little parts that we can all kind of see. And literally, it's not possible to look at the entire internet at the same time because in someone else's mind, this is my little section of internet. And in someone else's mind, this is my own little section of the internet. I just found it very interesting how the internet is its own world, kind of just thriving, that I did not completely look at before. I kind of just mapped it to my textbooks directly. And what I did over the summer and what I do at my school before the summer and even after the summer have just been constantly making me more aware that there's only so much I could learn from the textbook. It's making me really appreciate research in depthly.
Isabella, can you tell us what you worked on or what you're working on? It doesn't have to be what you did this summer.
Sarah and I also worked on the same project. We worked on it together. We worked on a secure bootloader, which essentially that's trying to verify an image and make sure it hasn't been corrupted. And we looked into the software and hardware interfaces of that.
So Sarah, what other aspect do you want to add to Isabella's description of what you guys worked on?
It was very interesting looking at the hardware software interface because I also had never done that before. And like she said, I never had even seen Verilog, never heard of it. So that was pretty interesting having to try and figure out essentially what was going on. And so trying to look at code that I'd never seen and like figure out what was going on. Me and Isabella worked a lot together. She really helped me out with that. It was really interesting to learn about security because that wasn't something that I had considered in the past, but I didn't know that I could branch off of the field and go into.
Isabella, I want to dive in a little bit to like who you are. So, have you been interested in cybersecurity your whole life, or were you one of those kids that was like taking apart the home computer and you've just been waiting finally for this opportunity? Or are you somebody who is like, I'm going to be a professional athlete, or I'm going to be a medical doctor or a musician, and then suddenly you ended up seeing something kind of triggered your interest in cybersecurity? How did you get here?
I've like always had like an interest in math and science. So like I knew I was gonna go into probably like mechanical or like electrical engineering. I thought I would like go more into like the computer engineering side, and I thought like security was like a great way to do that.
Are you gonna stay on that path, do you think, or are you gonna go back to EE or ME?
I feel like I'm like still a little undecided because I just like love both aspects of electrical and computer engineering, and I feel like it's so broad. It's gonna be so hard to decide what you want to do already, especially because like we're starting to get into our higher level classes.
Sarah, how about you? Did you start off as a computer security nerd, or was that an evolution?
My best friend's mom in high school taught computer science class, and so that's actually how I ended up being exposed in the first place. And so I ended up like continuing that, and I really liked it, and so that's how I decided I wanted to go into computer engineering. And especially like by the end, I hadn't realized like how much I had learned. However, there's some security related things I still would like to explore in the future. And also like changing career paths is like very possible for me. I know eventually I want to come back and teach. And so like what I do in between after I leave school to that point, I'm not sure yet.
What age group do you want to teach? Are you talking university or high school or younger?
It would definitely be older high school students, and it definitely like something computer science related. Not exactly sure what that is yet, but at some point I definitely want to teach.
So, Ifesi, how about you? What is your background in exposure to computer science as you grew up?
I spent most of my formative years in Nigeria, and my dad owns an engineering firm. So he would normally like tell his friends about why he was invested very heavily in his security department. So he's all about, let's take all these measures, make sure we don't run into these issues. So he would always have his friends over when they're talking about their firms, and he would be suggesting different measures for them to take. So I feel like he kind of primed me for college. Like he unknowingly set me on this path. The funny thing is, I actually came into UIUC for electrical engineering. I wanted to go into building cars because that's what his firm kind of works with a little. So I thought it would be fun. I realized more and more that yes, I like building cars, but I think my interest in networks and the information they hold and how vital it is that we have tools that developers can leverage to secure their applications and their networks. My interest in that kind of overwhelmed my interest in cars.
Well, aren't they kind of merging? I mean, these days, aren't cars essentially connected and going to become even more so? Are the two fields really discrete anymore?
I was thinking maybe I could work on ways of securing the communication systems in like electrical cars or something. Just going into that. But I realized I could do that with a computer engineering major. So once that happened, I kind of went on this track where I just started talking with the professor who I was talking with before I switched. So he in his lab, he's actually a beekeeper. So here's the funny thing. He has this project called WaggleNet. He would have some kind of device in the beehive, and beekeepers did not need to open up the beehive to just collect the bee data. Because there was this thing with bees that sometimes you would open up beehive and all the bees have gone. Like they're not dead or anything. They kind of ran away, like escaped, and they did not know why. So they wanted to collect the data over time and see what happens just before the bees left. So that's the high level overview of the project, but I focused on the part I was interested in, that network communication, that technology that had to be set up and securing it to make sure it doesn't get tampered with by other people. Although who wants to actually tamper with bee data? You never know.
Hive security.
Hive security, just things like things like that help you appreciate how security can literally be applied anywhere. cybersecurity for me is more than just a subject in school. It's evolved from being the thing I heard about with my dad to most definitely a career at this point. And it's given me a great friend group of people like Sarah and Isabella and the other students and the mentors that we worked with over the summer. It's literally thrown me into so much, and I'm very grateful for it.
Isabel, do you have advice for freshmen or even high school students who might be interested in, I guess, ME, cyber security, any of that?
I feel like I spent a lot of like my summers like at summer programs, and I feel like that was like one of like the most transformative like things for me in high school. Like I met so many like insanely intelligent people that had like such different passions, and like I'm still friends with today, including like Sarah, Fessy, and like the two other people in our program. And I feel like that just like opened my eyes to all the different pathways in engineering, and that kind of helped me decide early on. And like, again, I feel like it's just like really nice, like I don't know, get introduced to like new places, new people. It like opens up your perspective a lot. So like I would definitely say just like any opportunity you see to just like go for it. Like even if you're like, oh, like that's so like out of my comfort zone. I think just like doing really different things outside of your comfort zone like kind of leads you to really like crazy opportunities. So I would definitely say that. I would like have the same advice for like college freshmen. Just like explore things like you wouldn't think you would want to. I remember at one point I was interested in material science. So I took like an intro math sci course my freshman year. And it turns out I hated it. So like it was great to find out that I didn't want to do that. I rolled out really quickly. I think same thing for like this past summer. I didn't really know much about computer security. I feel like I was kind of like avoiding like the more computer engineering side of ECE. But like I thought I would try something different and like something I'm not really used to. And it turns out I really enjoyed it. So I think just like trying different things, it helps you rule it out so you like you know you don't want to do it, or like it can turn out to be like what you decide to pivot your career to be. So I would definitely say just like try new things and be open to changing your path, and like not necessarily just going in with like a fixed mindset of what you want to study.
Sarah, what's your advice to especially those kids that you're going to end up teaching in the future?
Like my advice, bottom line, would just be take a chance. There's a lot of things, like a lot of opportunities that will present themselves that like might be random. Like literally, I saw a tiny link at the bottom of an email, like again, like the summer program thing. That was also, I did a few of those, and it kind of helped me figure out, like I knew something CS-ish. But it helped me figure out, okay, well, I also like the EE side because, I built a robot and that was fun. And so like that's what I want to do. I was at Purdue for like a week. If you don't like it, you still can say like, oh, I had this like really cool experience. And I've always found like the people is one of the better parts, if not the best part, at least for me personally. I think that when you try new things, like again, even if you don't like it, you can still like, you've made friends and you bonded through, especially with the people that you have like more common interests with. Like you bond through like, oh my god, I really didn't like this, or like, oh my god, like this part was so fun. And so you bond through that, and then like you still become friends. Like there's people that I met like in summer programs like junior year of high school, I like still talk to this day, like on a regular basis. And so like I think my best advice is definitely like, just like take a chance. If you see something, apply for it. You never know what's gonna happen. I think that everything happens for a reason. So I think like the more things that you're willing to like open yourself up to, the more things that are like willing to open up to you and come back. And so like the more things you try, just the better off you'll be. And I think that that's really important to carry. Not necessarily just in like, the cyber world and life in general, like just being open, I think allows more opportunities. If you're willing to try things, like things will connect themselves in better ways than you might ever imagine.
That's really insightful advice. Ifesi, final words, final thoughts, advice for up and coming people?
When I think of high school students, I think of my secondary education, which was in a boarding school in the middle of nowhere, Nigeria. It was quiet. I loved it, but I know it's not the same for everybody. But the silence affords a lot of. It allows you to ruminate on a lot of things. And there was one time that my old principal said something about ballerinas. So he said, imagine a ballerina who claims to be a ballerina sitting in her ballerina room all pink and tight and just sitting down and looking at her walls. I imagine this ballerina who calls herself a ballerina never talks to anybody, just stays in this box with all these books on how to do all these techniques. And imagine this ballerina is so amazing at what she does. Her walls are applauding her every night. She doesn't talk to anybody and she's just in her room. And let's say you run into this ballerina like at a supermarket or something, and the first thing she tells you is, "Oh, I'm a ballerina," and you're like, "Oh, no, you're not." You don't know her work. Let's say you're in the industry too. You don't know her in the industry. That's not a ballerina. That's a hobbyist. Ballet for her is not a career. It is something she does alone in her room, by herself, for herself. And that's not what a career is. A career is a lifestyle. And you're in the industry, you're talking to people in the industry, and you're getting ideas and you're feeding off them. So I kind of run with that now. And this is not to say that you need to be an extrovert, but it's to highlight the fact that growth in an industry and in a career does not come about. Obviously, there's solitude in it. Their best ideas are normally born at weird hours of the night, alone in your apartment, staring at whatever you're staring at. But there has to be some level of interaction with the industry you claim to be a part of, right? So you can't call yourself a computer engineer if you don't throw yourself into the industry to learn from other people and talk to other people. Like, going off of what Isabella and Sarah said, opportunities are everywhere. Growth looks different for different people. Let's say someone needs to do an internship this summer to get industry experience. Someone else might need to stay in their room the whole summer to build a project, to get the skills to even be able to get to internships to get that industry experience. There's no race with anybody. You're on your own path, doing your own thing. And as much as you need to grow on your own, remember that you are part of a teaming industry of bright people, and learning is a collaborative thing. It's iterative and it's collaborative, and it looks different for different people, and it's important to embrace it any way it's thrown at you. That's the advice I would give.
I think just like reaching out, not necessarily to like professors, but like also like peers, people that are like more knowledgeable, I think is like really helpful. I've been trying to get into like research this semester, and I was like talking to a lot of professors. Like I had great conversations, like not necessarily about like my career even, or just like the relevance of like different topics in ECE. And that's kind of helped me kind of like figure out what I want to do. And like even this summer, our Sarah and I's mentor, Professor Malik, like he was like such a resource and always so excited to help us, and obviously very knowledgeable. So yeah, I feel like professors and like peers in general are just like amazing resources. Like learn about your career, but also just in general, like the field.
So there you have it, direct from the research experience undergraduates, Ifesi, Isabella, and Sarah. Thank you guys so much for your time and your insight into your lives and your research and your advice.
Thanks for joining us for Cybersecurity Inside. You can follow us here on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcasts.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the guests and author and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Intel Corporation.